It's no secret the importance of YouTube for marketers is growing and growing and growing. In the past decade, we've seen the channel morph from a dumping ground for user-generated content to the go-to platform for media consumption for every brand. From entertainment to how-tos, client testimonials, and now even podcasts. A presence on YouTube is table stakes for marketers. But here's the question most marketers are struggling with. How do you convert YouTube viewers into leads? I'm Benjamin Shapiro, and joining me is Nate Woodbury, the CEO of Be the Hero Studios. Nate has produced over 60 successful YouTube channels that specialize in using YouTube for business. And today he's going to explain to us how to turn your viewers into customers. Nate, welcome to the Martech Podcast.
Thanks for having me here. It's a fun journey, and I love teaching this stuff.
You know, I'm excited to have you back. You were on the Martech Podcast back in the day when we were audio only. Oh my God, it feels like a million years ago. And now podcasts are audio, video, social. We convert them using AI into newsletters and blogs, all sorts of fun stuff happening in the media creation space. And here you are trucking away helping marketers and business people figure out how to use YouTube for business. Let's start off at the top and talk about your use case. How are you using YouTube to turn viewers into leads?
Yeah, the main thing that I want to help people understand is that there are two paths to success on YouTube. You'll hear a lot of advice from all these different YouTube gurus, but most of them are going down a path to ad revenue. They're going down a path to turning YouTube into a business, where what I'm really good at is helping somebody who has an existing business and they leverage YouTube as a tool for lead generation. And so when you hear all this advice out there, you have to differentiate. Is this advice for the path to ad revenue, or is this advice for the path to lead generation? And they're drastically different approaches. You know, I focus on search traffic. I focus on search engines have really changed. Search engines used to be, you know, you have a website that you're wanting to get ranked at the top of Google, and you put a lot of spam out on the internet to send authority to that website. None of that works anymore, thankfully. But Google is now a content search engine, and so it works great now. You can create a piece of content that people are searching for. And search engines and AI have gotten so good that when we do a search, we are typing in a lot more words. We're being a lot more specific because it works. It gets us a lot better results. And so when you can make a video, let's say, that answers a really specific question, let's say it's a 10-word question or an 8-word question, it's way more specific than we could have done years ago. There's just hundreds of thousands of these really, really specific questions. Well, what you can do is you can find the questions that your target audience is asking. And that's a gold mine. That's a gold mine because you know exactly who they are, what they need, and you can make videos to answer their questions. So instead of having a nurturing play where we're just making content that we think our audience is going to like and we nurture that audience and hope to grow it, now it becomes a marketing play. We have a video that's intended for people who've never heard of us before, but we're pulling in these people through search. It's a game changer. It works extremely well.
It's an interesting strategy, and I like the sort of bifurcation of there's media businesses and there's businesses that use media. I think that's really smart, and I think that often that gets confused for businesses because they think that they need to be creators, right? And people like me who are trying to build audiences in part for lead generation for our production business, but also we monetize through sponsorship and hopefully a little YouTube ad revenue here or there. But that practice of going through and using YouTube essentially as an SEO tool is interesting, but it begets the fundamental question today, which is, okay, cool. So I get people to click on my YouTube video that answers their question. Now I'm not just writing blog posts, I'm creating media. then they watch my video. I think where most marketers are getting lost is the but then what? Somebody comes, I've matched intent with content, but the conversion happens off the YouTube platform. Talk to me about bridging the gap there.
Yeah, so I see this in my mind. I can't separate it as there's a two-step approach. So the quick answer is going to be what's step two. So I'll give you that for sure. But the reason I started talking about step one is we got to build a relationship first. So, and this is different from a paid ad campaign, right? Paid ads, you're putting your promo content right in front of new eyeballs. But with this approach on YouTube, people find you through search, and you're not pitching to them. You're not getting a lead at this point. You're just answering their question, and you're building a relationship. I mean, imagine there's a real specific question. They watch a 10-minute video of you really going in depth, and now there's this relationship. So now we go to step two. Step two is at the end of the video, you have a call to action. You have a simple free gift that you give them. And there's typically two calls to action. One call to action could be, hey, now that you've watched video one, go watch video two, right?
Right.
And be specific. But then the second type of call to action is this free gift or this lead magnet. It's like, hey, now that you've learned this principle, I have a resource that I want to give to you that will help you implement this principle, or it'll help you learn it more in depth, like a free mini course or whatever. And so because you've built that relationship, you've given them value, and if that lead magnet or that gift really relates to what they've been searching for, they're going to want that free gift. So they go to your landing page and they give you their contact information in order to get that gift.
Talk to me about the delivery vehicle. You mentioned you're integrating essentially your call to action into your content, into your video. There's a couple other experiences in YouTube where, we go through this video and at the end we're going to say, hey, everybody go to Be the Hero Studios and check out Nate's video starter course, right? We're going to talk about it. There's the promotional widget at the end of a YouTube video, your end card. There is your links in your description. Are there any other methodologies for moving people from YouTube into a lead capture magnet?
Yeah, so when it's a brand new channel, you're not able to put your own links into cards or end screens yet, which is a clickable link on the screen. Once you, and the numbers change now, once you get to 500 subscribers and you get to 3,000 hours of watch time, you can join that partner program.
Hang on, is it both 500 subscribers and 3,000 hours of watch time, or one? It's both.
Yeah, it used to be 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours, but in January that lowered down to 500 and 3,000.
Oh,
but
well,
you need both. Yeah, it's very nice. And that what that allows you to do is a card is a clickable element that can pop up, in the top left corner of the video, and it's a clickable element. You can have that link to your website, or the end screen is the final 20 seconds of a video. You can have something appear on the screen to go to your website. So we use those once you're in the partner program. We'll also use the description. The description isn't really important for SEO. I mean, I'm the SEO guy, but you don't need to everything that people tell you, that other people tell you about what's important for SEO on YouTube, it doesn't really work. You can leave the keyword field blank. The description isn't going to help you with SEO. But what the description will help you with is it's a sales page for you. If people are going to go through the effort to click on the hard to find little down arrow and open up your description, what are they looking for, right? If they're looking for a link that you mentioned in the video, make sure they find it easily. If they're looking for information about you or about your website, any other resources that you have, just list it there in a way that's clean to understand. We'll also put in there timestamps that turn into chapters, and that's a functionality for YouTube, so we put stuff like that in there. But going back to the question so we certainly put it in the description, and then I like to buy a simple URL that I can redirect. Mm-hmm. So if my landing page is such and such domain.com/free gift, I'm not going to say that lengthy thing. I might buy the domain natesfreegift.com. I've got several domains and you can't use any if your name is hard to spell. like Angelique is a client of mine. I'm like, it's probably because it's
Angie, it is.
yeah. So you buy a simple domain that's memorable. So when you're editing the video and you say go to, let's just pretend natesfreegift.com. I don't have that domain. It would appear on the screen in the video. It's memorable, so if people want to type it in themselves, they can. We put it on a card or an end screen, in that case the end screen if it's at the end of the video, and we put it in the description telling them I will put it in the link below, or put that in the description below. So any way that you can get people there, the better.
I can't get my mind off of you can't put links in videos when you're just starting a new channel, which seems like a threshold for most marketers where they're just starting a YouTube channel for business. They want to redirect traffic, but they can't until they have 500 subscribers. I'm assuming the reason why that is the case is YouTube doesn't want a bunch of people just coming onto the platform, creating a ton of like low quality accounts to drive traffic. Is there another reason why you think they're blocking people from redirecting off the platform?
That's a pretty good guess. I don't know for certain, but that makes sense to me. There is a lot of spam and a lot of, like in the comments section, there's a lot of garbage that goes on where people will create a fake account and go in and reply to comments as if they're the creator of that channel and try and so it makes sense that they've got some barriers that, they've got this platform where we can upload as much storage as we want, and to put some limits and parameters. Their partner program is the real deal. It's not a gimmick. The tools that they provide through the YouTube analytics is just unbelievable. Like if you compare that to analytics on Facebook or LinkedIn, it's I don't know, 1,000 times better. So I would just say let that be a challenge if you're going to be serious about YouTube.
I keep thinking about how much it costs to get around that, where you use YouTube's Google advertising, but YouTube's sort of integrated advertising platform, and it's, I think you said 500 subscribers. It probably costs $1 or $2 a subscriber, so there's $1,000, and then you got to get to 3,000 hours of watch time. So it's like a couple of grand to basically get into the partner platform, assuming you could use advertising to buy all those metrics.
I don't recommend that route.
Go on, tell me why.
Well, so there's two different things we're talking about here, and let me even take a step back. So if we talk about the difference between marketing and nurturing, marketing, the way I define it, is you're getting in front of people who've never heard of you before. So what people call social media marketing, they're like, yeah, I've got all this content, it goes out all the time on. So let's say they do a post to Facebook. Are they actually marketing, or are they nurturing their friends? If they post on LinkedIn, are they marketing, or are they nurturing their connections? Nurturing is important. Nurturing is very important to do. It's the next step after marketing. But think about your email list. You send out an email to all your email subscribers. You're nurturing. Same with the podcast, your listeners, right? So, well, then what is marketing? How do we market? And I've kind of defined it, or wrapped it up into 3 different ways. One is paid marketing, paid ads. You're paying to get in front of these new audiences. And there's pros and cons to paid ads. You can have a video go viral. Now, that's not really something you can control. It's pretty unpredictable. If a video does go viral, 99% of the time, and I'm just making up that number, but I think that's accurate, 99% of the time, it's not your target audience that's seeing the video. The third way is search. Mm-hmm. You can actually turn content into a marketing content just by making sure you have search built into it. So if I know what people are searching for, I create that content, then that content will be in front of those people who've never heard of me before. So that becomes marketing.
You're right. I'm trying to cut the line with my thought process, which is if I invest $2,500 into buying 500 subscribers and marketing my content to get the 3,000 hours of watch time, then in my next video after I've made that investment, I can put links in the video, which the video is great for nurture as well, but I also have the demand capture hook there, or at least an additional one other than what I'm saying in the content and what's in the description. So I'm more like you can buy your way out of those minimum thresholds to be able to have the other hook that seems to be the most relevant way to get traffic off of the platform.
Oh, it might be worth a try. You can always experiment with things. I don't see it as being a big enough benefit because you can, get a simple domain, tell people click the link below, and perhaps you will get a small percentage higher, more people that will click and go to that page if it is more user friendly there. But at the same time, if you don't have a solid enough foundation of a channel to even qualify for the partner program, the number of leads and views and traffic are going to be minimal anyway.
So let's talk about that. I want to double back to with marketers understanding some of the lead capture mechanisms. How do we figure out if it's worth the investment? If I'm sitting here and I've got a thriving business, but I want to figure out if YouTube is right for me, what are the channels and what are the signals I'm looking at?
I look at what is working currently. How are you currently generating leads? Mm-hmm. What type of leads are they coming from? And if you've got a paid ad campaign that's working well, then potentially, and I'll give you some more criteria as well, but then potentially that would be a good place to just start sending these YouTube leads and expect a much higher quality lead. The other criteria, though, if you're focusing on YouTube search traffic, how-to content, answering people's questions is the best type of content to go after that. Well, does that match your business? Do you have an educational component in your business, like if you're a public speaker or a coach or a consultant or a course creator? Do you have to educate people, or do you educate people along the way? So that's kind of a criteria as well. But if that does apply, then you're going to be able to really build a relationship and generate a much higher lead quality that way. And you'll have momentum on your channel, so when you get to the point of that call to action, you have the audience that's there. You'll have enough subscribers.
Let me boil that down, and I want to make sure I get it right, because I think that's really important. If you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, the things that you need to think about are, number one, do you have an existing funnel, right? Can you make sure that your funnel is working through other paid advertising channels? So if you drive traffic, you know that the capture mechanism works. And number two, do you have something to say? Like, are you teaching? Are you educating? Is there something that people want to hear that you can say that's worth putting into a video? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, and here's something to add to that. So are we turning YouTube into a business, or are we taking our business and having YouTube assist our business and generate? So if we're the latter, if we have a business, well, what does that mean? That means that we know how to get customers, we know how to have sales conversations with them, we have a product or service that we're selling and we fulfill, and we're getting good reviews, right? So if we have a business, that's what we're talking about. If people are at the very beginning of all of the above, and they're like, yeah, I want to create a YouTube channel that generates leads for my business. So does that mean you're creating your business at the same time? Does that make sense? So
yeah, it seems like you're getting into the awareness building versus lead generation, right? Are you using YouTube to get in front of people so they know who you are, or do you have a business where you can take leads from YouTube? Give me an example of somebody that's you've helped move from I'm trying to build awareness to now I'm generating leads. How do you bridge that gap?
Well, so I'll just I'll give you a couple real examples that are really clear, and we'll use big successful ones. So Mr. Beast, the biggest YouTube channel there is.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he does some awesome things, and he's definitely, he turned YouTube into a business, and he has such influence now that he's used it to create other businesses, and that's even a side conversation, his chocolate business or several of other examples. But with his YouTube channel itself, he's not using it as lead gen, he's nurturing. He's not marketing. He's got approaching 400,000 subscribers, and when he posts a video, he wants you and me, and I'm assuming you're a subscriber like I am, he wants us to watch. And so if he gets 100 million or 200 million views on a video, because he's generating that ad revenue. But on the other side, let me give you an example. You can look up Jason Schroeder. He's in the construction space. He provides consulting to construction professionals. Well, when he started launching this how-to content on YouTube, he's not expecting these videos to go viral. He's not focused on views, but he's just answering these questions. And so people find his videos, they learn, they really value, because he really is, they just love his content. And we started launching 1 episode per week. After a few months, we increased to 2 episodes a week. 6 months later, we increased to 5 episodes a week. We've stayed there for a year and a half now. So he's, at this point, we've put a lot of content out there, and he tells me, Nate, and his business was already a 7-figure business prior to what he's telling me now. But what he says now is, Nate, we have more business than we can handle because of this lead generation from YouTube. So that's really what we're talking about. Is he already had a business, he already had consulting that he was providing, but he had this content that he knew more and more construction professionals would really value, would really need, and so he's built this big base on YouTube. But it's become this lead generation source of people that just love him and value his advice and want to work with him.
So what's the secret there? Using your construction example, going from awareness to lead generation, how did he bridge the gap from I now am a known person in my industry because I've got all these videos and people seem to like my content, to they're calling me on the phone, they're asking for deals, they're in my pipeline?
It can be as simple as a phone number. Stan the Annuity Man. He was an annuity
man.
Stan the Annuity Man. You can check out his channel.
Sounds like the Nudie Man.
So he was just a regular annuity agent among many thousands of annuity agents across the country. He would answer real specific questions on these boring topics, but he made them cool, right?
Hard to believe.
He's now America's #1 annuity agent, and at the end of
Everybody
his
loves
video,
an annuitist.
he would put his phone number. That's it. He says, if you have more questions, here's my phone number. So I don't necessarily recommend the phone number approach. Go ahead and try that, but that's why I say, what is your business? What is your funnel? What lead magnets are you currently using? Can you experiment with a couple? So some examples that we use that are successful is, it could be a mini course, right? It's like, hey, now that you understand the answer to this question, I've got a mini course that I want to help you, and it will help you achieve blank. Or it could be a free plus shipping book. Russell Brunson from the ClickFunnels world, he taught us about the free plus shipping model over the last decade or two, and that's still working. But even when I say free mini course, low price mini courses actually work, or low price digital products. It could be a live webinar. Hey, now that you understand this principle, I'm going to do a live webinar. We're going to take an hour, and I'm going to teach you this, this, and this, and you'll come away being able to do blank. So it's something that it could be a PDF download. It could be, hey, now that you understand the value of this real estate investing strategy, I've got a contract template that I use every time. I want to give that to you. If you want to be able to download it, just click the link or go here. They become a lead. So that's the key. Just being able to connect the value that you're delivering to the free gift that you're offering, and now you've got a lead. You've still got to nurture that lead ultimately to have a sale. It's a larger sale, of course. You've got to have a conversation with them, but that's how you bridge that gap.
I'm assuming that you use YouTube for lead generation for your business. Tell me the link magnets that you're using.
Yeah, so I do all of the above except for the phone number. I've got my free plus shipping book. So, and I have the domain natesyoutubebook.com.
That's influence on YouTube for the people on the podcast.
Yeah, Hero's Guide to Influence on YouTube. I've also got a webinar that I do, theleafstrategy.com. What else? I've got a mini course. So, and you get different results from different ones. I feel like I customize the topic of the video. Like, is this one where it would make the most sense to lead them to the book, or would it make the most? Sometimes, and here's a kind of a side topic that might be helpful to discuss. When you send somebody away from YouTube to your website, YouTube doesn't like that. Okay, because you're sending people are leaving
Sure.
YouTube, so you actually get penalized. But you can list what your own websites are and kind of reduce that penalty. Another side note: do not put Facebook or LinkedIn or other social sites in your description. Don't tell people to go there. That gets you a big penalty. YouTube does not like people leaving YouTube to go to Facebook.
Dang, I think we have that in every single video.
I'd remove them or stop doing them moving forward. So, but it's worth it, right? So if you list your website under your YouTube settings, you can put your website in there, so YouTube knows that's your website, and it reduces that penalty. But what you also do that YouTube really likes is when you link one video to another video. Hey, now that you've learned this principle, you really need to go learn that next principle. Go watch that video next. So if you do a mixture of both, you'll get rewarded for linking to other videos, and you'll get a small penalty but you're generating leads. And you only need people to do that one time. So they leave YouTube to go to your website, they become a lead. Now if they're going to continue watching videos, they don't need to leave YouTube anymore. If they're going to go to your website, you're already emailing them, right? You're nurturing them through your email list. They already know about your website now. So, yeah.
My takeaway from our conversation is something that I feel like I've been preaching for a while, specifically about the podcast game and content marketing. There are ways to use a media asset to achieve different goals within your funnel. And, for me, thinking about audio-only podcasts, it used to be, you're nurturing your audience, you're promoting your content in your newsletter, you're increasing your reach, so you're hitting the top of funnel, and you have an ABM strategy with the people that you're interviewing. YouTube is not much different. There is probably more ability to get people on platform, off platform with YouTube, but you really have to be strategic and understand what your goals are. You're not just creating content for content's sake. Each piece of content needs to have a specific goal in your funnel. This one's about broad reach and awareness. This one's a lead generation, and you're figuring out your linking strategy based on that. All right, Nate, I want to move on to our lightning round, where I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that are related to this week's topic, which is YouTube for lead generation. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Buy or sell? Are you buying or selling the idea that a presence on YouTube is important for every brand?
Am I buying or selling? I guess I'm selling that. I'm trying to convince people that how valuable it is. If you're the right type of brand, this is something that will really transform their business.
It's funny, you're the YouTube guy and you're selling the concept that YouTube is for everybody. Go into more detail. Why isn't YouTube for everybody?
Well, it's the strategy I teach specifically is not for all businesses. A pizza restaurant, a barber shop, an accountant, a dentist, a landscaper.
Home services.
They're not really going to benefit from this strategy. But if say the dentist wanted to teach other dentists how to build a successful practice, or if a landscaper was teaching landscaping tips and selling products nationwide, if they have an educational side of it, it works really, really well. So it can work for a lot of businesses, but for a lot of other businesses, an example that my strategy would not work for, but they had a great campaign, was blend tech. There's two, in at least in my understanding or my view, there's two powerful blenders if you like to make a smoothie, like a green smoothie, and it can be powerful enough it can grind up kale. There's the Vitamix and there's the blend tech. Well, Vitamix apparently has been around.
Shots fired at whoever owns the Ninja.
Yeah, I won't even include them. I did have one of those once. But the Vitamix, I guess that company's been around 100 years. So they've got a good history. They know how to make good products. Well, Blendtec, really short history. But they became a big competitor in a short amount of time, and they had a series on YouTube, Will It Blend? They'd put an iPhone in a blender to see what would happen, or they'd put fireworks, or
I'm going no. None of that stuff.
It was so entertaining, and it brought so much attention. But that's a different type of an approach. They're demonstrating a product, bringing a lot of attention to a product. So it's not that there are different approaches. That's just, I don't know that world. It's fun. It's creative. But the world that I know is, hey, I've got a business. It's an educational side of it. I can really take advantage of. I would say it's a golden opportunity for search, because search engines have gotten so good that people's search queries are way more specific, and that helps me hone in and know exactly who my target audience is through their questions. So I can just make content exactly for the right people, and it becomes awesome lead gen.
All right, question number 2. Toss-up. Would you choose YouTube ads or organic content strategies if you have to pick one tactic specifically for lead generation?
I'm going to say organic, but you obviously need to have a funnel first for the organic strategy to really pay off. And so if somebody were to, what are we going to do in the beginning? I might say start with an ad campaign first, so that because with ads, you're going to get quicker iterations, and you can fine tune a funnel way quicker. When I have clients that come to me that have done that, Noelle Randall, she's a real estate investor. That's what she did. She had built a 7-figure funnel through Facebook ads. So when we then implemented this organic YouTube strategy, it worked like clockwork. Within 3.5 months, she turned off Facebook because the quality of leads coming from the organic were way far superior. So in the long run, I'm going to go with organic, but in the short run, I might lean. And I'm not an expert on the ads. I don't know how to do that stuff.
Let's move on. Marketing Mythbusters. Is it a myth that it's too expensive for startups to produce quality YouTube content?
It is definitely a myth. You have an amazing camera in your pocket or in your purse right now. Our phones make it amazing. So yes, when people film with me, we're using these DSLR cameras and fancy lights, but that only makes an incremental difference in the performance of a video. What's most important is that you're conversational, delivering high value. So if you're trying to compare yourself to Mr. Beast and making really entertaining content, you got to just do what they're doing, right? But if you're making this how-to content to generate leads for your business, then you can just answer your question. I mean, think about, let's say somebody wanted advice on acting. They want to improve their acting ability and go into an acting career. Well, imagine if they did a search and they found a selfie video filmed by Harrison Ford. He's in his home. He's just saying, oh, I found this question that people are asking, and here's my experience. Here's my advice. It's not professionally filmed, but we're like, wow, that's what his home looks like, and this is Harrison Ford. He's teaching us. They're going to value the advice, right? So
I got to push back on you though. Not every early stage startup that doesn't have a lot of cash has Harrison Ford at their disposal, right? I'm Joe Nobody, and I've got an iPhone.
I'll push back because Harrison Ford is an expert at acting, but you are an expert in something, and every listener here, they have an expertise. So what you're going to talk about in selfie mode is the area of expertise that you have. You've got experiences that no one else has. So if we're talking about putting Harrison Ford on a pedestal for acting, you in your own right, you can be put on a pedestal for your experiences.
I would argue that Harrison Ford is much more recognizable than the average startup founder, but let's move on. All right. Double down or diversify. If you were focused on advertising to promote your YouTube channel, would you double down on buying impressions for video views or diversify into trying to buy subscribers?
So here's where my answer might disappoint.
Wah, wah.
So where I say advertising can be a great first step, I would actually recommend that you keep 2 separate channels, one for advertising and one for organic. So I actually don't know the answer to your direct question of diversifying or whatnot, just because I don't really dally in a lot of the ad space. But what I can say is the audiences are different. When you're doing a paid ad campaign, it's an interruptive or a disruptive type of marketing. They want to watch one thing, but they're interrupted for a minute to watch an ad first, and it's kind of annoying, right? And then if they do watch an ad, they're like, how long is this ad going to be? And only a percentage are going to click on them to enter into that funnel. Versus what I'm talking about is on the organic side of YouTube, people are searching for a question. They want to find my videos. They don't feel like they're being sold to. So you're building two different audiences. If the paid ad side, if you're actually building subscribers that way, it doesn't really translate into a healthy, vibrant channel of people that love your content. I have a client who he built his channel. His name's John Cristani. You can actually go check out his YouTube channel. I'll give you some real numbers because I have permission to share this. He used paid ads to build his channel to 65,000 subscribers. He wanted to be a big YouTuber. He wanted to have that much influence. He had a successful business at that point. He was bringing in $6 million a year. He teaches affiliate marketing, and he's an expert of paid ads. Okay, so then he learned about this organic side to YouTube, and he hired me to produce his channel for a year. And he stopped doing any ads. We stopped all ads on YouTube. We just started doing 5 episodes a week of this organic content. We did that for a year. I guess I need to give you a before and then an after. So before the 65,000 subscribers, there were no comments. There was no like ad revenue because he was paying for this. There's just no real engagement, and it wasn't generating leads because he wasn't using the ads to generate leads. He was using ads to generate subscribers, and so he did, but then he didn't generate leads. Okay, so then we switched over to this organic campaign. 12 months later, he had 250,000 subscribers, so we grew it to that. He had a vibrant comment system. Like there was just a lot of engagement on the channel. It was a massive lead generator. I don't know revenue numbers to tell you, but I can say that the ad revenue was $18,000 in month 12, and that's not the goal. His business revenue was, probably 100 times that. I just don't know the exact number, but so hopefully that gives a contrast of the ads versus the organic. If it's not that you need to, stop. If you want to continue doing ads, I would create 2 separate YouTube channels.
All right, Nate. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thanks for telling us all about YouTube and how to use it for lead generation.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. Happy to share. If you want to learn more about the Leaf strategy, I do a weekly webinar where I show you behind the scenes. It's theleafstrategy.com.
Theleafstrategy.com. All right, and that wraps up this episode of the Martech Podcast. Thanks to Nate Woodbury, the CEO of Be the Hero Studios, for joining us. If you'd like to contact Nate, you could find a link to his LinkedIn profile in our show notes, or you can see his YouTube content or visit his company's website at betheherostudios.com. If you haven't subscribed yet and you want a daily stream of marketing and technology knowledge in your podcast feed, hit that subscribe button in your podcast app or follow us on YouTube. And if you'd like to be a guest on the Martech Podcast, head over to our website, martechpod.com. All right, that's it for today. But until next time, my advice is to just focus on keeping your customers happy.